everyone, this is Victoria and today I'm doing a special edition reading dedicated to the full moon in Aries that we're going to be experiencing. For those of you in the United States, it's going to be October 6th, late at night, different time zones, a little bit different night, but technically still October 6th. For those of you in Europe and Asia, it will be October 7th already, but it is coming in pretty fast, and I thought I'd do this reading today, share it with you today, so you guys can reflect and see what this full moon is uncovering for you, because more than anything else, the full moon energy is about highlighting, is about illuminating what we normally don't see or don't want to see or we're just too much in a rush in our hectic lives, right, to stop and smell the flowers, so to speak, especially if these flowers don't smell the way we like, right? We're even more reluctant to do that, and that's why sometimes the meaning of this moon energy is so intense, because it kind of like, it's like a projector in your face, right? It's kind of like, oof, it strikes. It doesn't just like calmly tell you what's going on, just kind of like in your face. This is what's up. This is why you've been avoiding this. This is why you haven't achieved your goal yet, or that's why this has been painful. You've been avoiding having this conversation, whatever it is. And because this full moon is in Aries, it will actually most likely be showing you what you've been in denial about when it comes to yourself. And it could be the positive side, the light side, and the shadow side as well. Either of those things. It's important to be aware of both as fully as you're capable of. And the more we are aware, the more we can then make more informed decisions in our life, right? Like, how do we want to work with this? Do we want to show ourselves love, compassion, kindness, to support ourselves where there is a lack or a gap? Do we want to reframe that past experience so we can let go of past hurt and fear? Do we want to embrace the new reality and start making different choices, not in automated way where it's our coping mechanism that comes in, that our psyche came up with on the subconscious level, but rather consciously taking action from a place of awareness and hopefully healed energy. So what the reading is going to be about, for those especially who are new to the channel, hello, please subscribe, please like the video. First, I'm going to give you the themes of this full moon energy. So this will be for the collective, across the board. I have the Angels and Ancestors deck. I've been using it for my October reads. I'm halfway through with those, by the way. You know that I'm moving quite a lot these days, so it's taken me a little bit of time to complete the readings, but I will in the next day or two. In the meantime, I'm gonna give you so anyway, I've been using this deck for October readings partly because October is going to be so big on the ancestor energy. Connecting with it, the veil is very thin, and we'll talk about it some more in separate readings. But I feel like it's very fitting to use this deck during this time, and it's a gorgeous deck. So let's do it. I haven't read a book, so it will be more of a free flow channeled message for each of the three. And then I have the Tarot Grand Lux deck here. And I'll go one by one and give guided messages for all of the zodiac signs. We'll start with Aries, of course, because this full moon is in Aries. The messages are going to be for your sun, moon, and rising sign. But if for some reason you don't have a chance to watch all three, which is what I usually recommend, then please pay attention to the message for a moon sign. That's what I would say. All right. So with all that said, let's get started. And there will be timestamps, yes, so you'll be able to easily jump between, we'll have something jumping already, jump between the signs and quickly get to the message that you're eager to receive. And of course, don't forget about the message for for your person, for whoever you're thinking about at this time. Doesn't even have to be a romantic partner, honestly. Maybe you're living with a roommate and you'd like to see how this full moon impacts them. Why not? All right, so the first theme is the arrow. Surround yourself with protective energy. Yeah, it's very interesting, right? Especially because the full moon could make us feel even more vulnerable and sensitive, right? I keep saying it's very important. Well, actually, two things that I keep saying. First of all, it's important to have your toolkit, to have certain techniques, certain practices that you can utilize when you are in that sensitive state, to get yourself back to stability, to safety, and then you can reflect, you can analyze, maybe even criticize. I don't like using that word, but sometimes it is what it is, and draw conclusions and learn lessons. But in the moment of sensitivity, it's important to protect yourself and get yourself out to safety. The other thing to keep in mind, of course, is the circulation of your nervous system. So it's important to find ways and to make it a regular practice, right? And there are some things that you're probably already doing that are working for you that way. Meditation would be one of those. Stabilizing your physical health, for example, hormones, digestion, right? Those are big ones. Different kinds of energy work. It could be sound healing. It could be, acupuncture, Reiki. Like, any of these things, they help you with it. But I would just say, and this is definitely a topic for a different video, different time, but maybe even series of videos. But this is not the same as repressing your emotions. This is not the same as doing inner work, right? Inner work is like a deeper work and longer term impact. This is more about this nervous system regulation is going to help you respond differently in specific situations, right? And yes, it rewires your brain so that you're not becoming reactive, so that you are not acting out of a place of trauma, but rather out of place of love and safety. So see how you can bring more of that kind of protective energy for yourself during this full moon. The second theme is the stag. Trust and thrive. Yeah, so the whole concept of predator and prey, how do you see yourself? Do you not want to be in that equation altogether? Whether we like it or not, at a certain point in our life, maybe even in our day, we become one or the other, or the neutral person, like the third party observer, right? But whichever role you put yourself in, it's important to be able to trust that you are exactly where you're supposed to be, that there's something here that's actually beneficial for you. It's like a clue, it's like you are a detective in your own story, right? Somebody drops a clue and you're like, that's interesting, and you're showing that curiosity. And I know, again, going back to point number one, it's difficult to do if you're in a sensitive place and something triggered you. That's why step number one is actually get out of that place of trigger. But then once you're out of it, then you can do the reflection and see, or it's not necessarily a logical reflection. Sometimes it is about connecting to your higher self, connecting to your heart center, and getting those downloads and receiving those signs to understand what it is. But remember that trust is more than anything about not knowing necessarily, not seeing everything, from point number 1 to point number 100, and still believing that it's good for you, it's safe for you, it's needed for some reason, right? That you are on the right path. Last but not least is the wise one. Sorry guys, we have train's not too far. Grow within your current situation. I think I've spoken about it already quite at length, and I definitely want to get to the guided messages for the zodiac signs before mosquitoes eat me alive, because I did bring my repellent today. But I would just add that, again, just a disclaimer that it doesn't mean that you immediately, if something is happening for you and there's some kind of complex situation or scenario, and you're immediately supposed to be this good soldier and, you know, see what it really is about and learn from it. No, that's like actually point 3, speaking of card number 3, right? Once you've reflected, now you can learn lessons. Now you can decide what does it mean to you in terms of the future. What does it tell you about yourself and who you are and where you are right now, right? It's like a temperature check. And now with this wisdom, you can decide how you want to move forward. And sometimes you don't need to change anything, right? Maybe you're collecting more information and you know that you need to know more. At the very least, that you won't be making the same mistakes next time, right? Because you've already seen what it is and you've learned from it. All right, with all that said, we'll move to the specific signs. One last thing I'm going to say before I move to individual signs is that for those of you who like doing rituals, who like working with nature, obviously Aries is a fire sign, so burn rituals are very welcome during this time. Please, fire safety first. Do it only if you're, you know, in a place where you can allow yourself go with it. But yeah, those kind of rituals where you put something on a piece of paper of what you want to release or to let go of, even who you want to let go of, that could work too. And then you burn it, and there you go. It kind of helps you relieve that, right? So there are other rituals that you can do with fire, and you can look them up yourself, of course. All right, what does Aries need to know during this full moon in Aries? Two of Wands, the Empress, and Three of Wands. Very interesting, right? It's like a storyline. You had Two of Wands where you had a choice, then you connected to your creative self, to your deep potential that maybe you've been in denial about, and here you go. Then you can set intentions and take that aligned action, right? But don't try to make this choice logically, right, or out of ego. That's another way to put it, especially with Wands here that is fire, and we're talking about Aries that is a fire sign, right? This is a very pure feminine energy, right, of creation, of nurture, of care, of I wanted to say fertility, but you know, a better term anyway. Yeah, creation, I guess, would be a wider term. You know, the mother nature, especially in this particular deck and this card, connecting to nature could help you revive that capacity in you. Or different kinds of artistic expression could also help you rediscover that passion and that guiding light. I'm thinking about a torch, like with fire, but I think the lighthouse actually symbolizes it more. That's the message that is coming to me during this time. Both of them are connected to fire, if you think about it, right? So pick whichever metaphor you like. All right, next we're gonna go to Taurus. What does Taurus need to know? Two of Cups, the Magician, and the Tower. Wow, very interesting. This is Aries energy, by the way. Magician is Gemini energy. Bottom of the deck, the Moon. I usually don't look at it for this type of reading, but just happened to see it. So, Three of Cups, Magician, and the Tower. For some of you, you'll see how much your environment makes you and your life go a certain way, right? Like there's so many expressions on how our environment kind of like builds up who we are, right? Or we become the product of our environment. In a more intimate circle in terms of friends and family, and of course as society at large. So think about it. There will be some revelations during this time, definitely, where you've maybe misjudged yourself and your potential, your power, right? Again, these topics of Aries, one way or another, right? It could be, it's a collective reading, so maybe you've underestimated it, or maybe you've overestimated yourself, but you will see where it was coming from. And what I'm also hearing is, with this Three of Cups, it's important to seek the support of your people, of your community, of your soul family, however you want to call them. For some, maybe just giving you a perspective would be enough. For others, it's quality time together. For other people, it could actually be going on your quest with your people rather than by yourself, how maybe you've been trying to go at it for a while. Okay, so that was Taurus. Next we're gonna go to Gemini. Knight of Swords, clarified by Page of Cups, and the Justice. Very interesting. This is Libra energy. I mean, Knight of Swords kind of looks for justice, I would say, in general, and the swords are the air energy. Justice is air energy as well. So you may be trying to, I'm hearing overcomplicate for some reason. To overcomplicate certain situation, right? Like thinking that, ooh, this person is out to get me, or, you know, somebody must have been plotting this for a long time for things to conspire this way. Or, I don't know, if you have a falling out with someone close, it's like, oh, they never actually cared for me in the first place, right? Like there's this kind of conspiracy theory kind of vibe here. But what is asked of you is actually to show kindness to the situation and compassion. And I'm not saying, you know, if somebody treated you badly, keep them around anyway. No, it doesn't mean that. But it means that give them the benefit of a doubt, give them some grace that they did the best they could, right? And even if somehow they hurt you on purpose, that, you know, there's a law of karma, again, this justice, right? Like the scales of justice are going to come into balance. But it's not your place to play God or to try to bring that justice, right? You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to waste your energy on it. Show kindness to yourself and to anyone else involved in this situation. All right, next we're gonna go to Cancer. What does Cancer need to know during this full moon in Aries? Aries, you've got Cancer, you've got Seven of Cups, clarified by Six of Swords, and Ace of Cups in reverse. Interesting. It's showing me, this is always my card of like a fairy tale reality. Although of course Seven of Cups is generally about the abundance of options, like the world's your oyster. Sometimes even being confused because you have so many things that you want to pursue, right? But it's like, what is the, think about when you're deciding on any of the options in front of you, where you want to put your energy, time, love, any resources into. Ask yourself, what is your motivation for it? Why are you doing it? Are you doing it because that's what others expect of you? You're doing it to keep other people happy? What does it give you personally in terms of value? Does it look good on paper, but it actually doesn't make you feel good? Think about all these things. Like, how does it reflect on you and who you are? How does it represent you, right? Is that something that you want to be defined by, or it's something that you want to add to your life consciously as something positive and loving and maybe fairy tale like, right? Just because you know, it was somebody else's fairy tale. It doesn't mean that the same is valid for you, or you're supposed to want the same thing. You know, Prince Charming on a white horse might be somebody's version of a fairy tale. It doesn't have to be yours. Okay, next, Leo. What does Leo need to know during this full moon? I'll try to speed up as much as possible before it gets too dark. But it's far in a way, don't you think? We have 9 of Wands, clarified by High Priestess. And the Strengths, that's Leo energy actually. Very interesting. High Priestess is Pisces energy. The main card is this, by the way, right? These are major arcana. So first and foremost, Leo, the message for you is that your guides are around. Your higher power is with you. You know, your ancestors are watching out for you. And there's a lot that you're dealing with right now, and you feel like you've already been at it for a while, and you don't know how long you're gonna last, right? This is like the almost reaching the breaking point. But if it feels like you're doing it alone, you're not alone, right? And if anything, it's also your decision on how and when you want to change things around and stop going with the same approach, or spending time with the same people, saying yes to the same situations, right, where maybe people are taking advantage of you, or maybe you've created a certain, for some reason I'm hearing that maybe you've created a certain persona, and now you feel like you need to stick with that scenario, right, to comply with the story that you've created, with the identity that you've built, right? But isn't your long-term happiness more important than complying with a certain image for a little while at least, right? Because this is 9 of Wands. 10 of Wands is coming. It's on the way. It's next, right? There will be a breaking point if you keep, you know, trying to keep people happy, or to kind of like keep peace. Let's put it that way. All right. So that was Leo. Next, Virgo. Virgo is not yet. All right. What does Virgo need to know during this full moon? Queen of Wands. Oh, I like this. This is very different energy from the usual Virgo. 3 of Cups again, just like for Taurus. And 2 of Coins. Yeah, this is more like Virgo energy. Virgo, now you are supposed to think bigger picture, right? You're supposed to create a vision. Again, with the 2 of Coins, you may be juggling certain roles, certain responsibilities, and trying to figure out, like, how do I continue doing all of it, because I don't really feel like dropping any of them. And yes, you may be on the surface, you may be telling yourself that for each of those areas of your life, for those roles, you have to do it, you have to be there, at least right now. But deep down, you know, we know that you're making those decisions consciously. You don't have to stay in all of those things at the same time, right? But you like that image of like, oh yes, I like showing people that I can do all of it, right? Like we used to call it in my corporate days, we used to call it the hero complex, where, you know, sometimes we thrive on those situations where we save the day, right? Even if it's exhausting, and even if it's nerve-wracking, right? There's something we're getting out of it. And sometimes we actually create those situations so we can then pull people out of it. Again, topic for another day. Maybe I'll actually do a podcast on the topic. But think about being a team player rather than, you know, the queen of the ball. Sometimes that's what's going to win you more points, you know, on the surface, and also will keep you more sane and healthy and well, you know, on the inside. All right, next we're gonna go to Libra. Libra is the opposite sign of Aries, the sign where the moon is during this time. We actually have sun in Libra. That's usually how it works, you know. Full moons are in the opposite sign from where the sun is. Happy birthday, Libra. And what I'm being guided to say is, well, you guys can still see me, is that because it's the same axis, like we all have these opposite signs in the zodiacal wheel, they are kind of like they form and axis in the wheel. And yes, they are the opposite energies, but they are also connected in that interesting way. It's like a seesaw effect. And if you're finding yourself a little bit too much, let's say in this case, in the Libra energy, then add more of an Aries vibe to the situation, to area of your life, whatever is at hand, right? If you're going more into the Aries space, then come back and rejoice and remember what your Libra identity is about, right? It's very helpful. It's almost like a recipe for success. But with all that said, your main card is the Star. That's Aquarius energy, clarified by 10 of Coins. Oh my god, this is so beautiful. And 8 of Swords. So, you know, you're this beautiful being that's done so much work on yourself, that has been through so much, and kind of like this is like that phoenix energy of rising from the ashes, right? But now the choice is yours of whether you're going to make a fortune out of it. You can take it literally or figuratively, right? Whatever the wealth is in your life, in your head, in your on your terms, right? Or you can be in your head and, you know, still live with shame on what happened with you in the past, or the role you played in it, or how you could have avoided it, or any of the above. The air signs tend to overthink and overanalyze, and a lot of times they do end up beating themselves up and being too judgmental of themselves and of other people. That's how it works. It doesn't stop with you. Even if you're trying to suppress it, at some point it gets out. So, right, this is like that point the full moon is illuminating for you, that you're the creator of your life, right? What kind of story do you want to write? And who do you want to be in that story? A hero or a villain? To continue the topic of the hero complex. But I don't mean a hero in like a comedic way. I mean hero is if, like, yes, you've healed, you've risen from the ashes, and now, you know, you can transform your life with it and make your dreams come true. Next we'll go to Scorpio. So we have 5 of Coins, clarified by 4 of Coins, and 7 of Wands. Have you been too protective with your time, with your money, with any other resources? You know, they say in order to make money, you need to spend money. And it is a kind of a cliche, kind of an arrogant phrase, but there is something in it. And without going too deep into that topic, I would say, you know, there needs to be that flow of energy where you're willing to let go of, you know, you're willing to give in order to receive, right? And there should be that flow. If you're struggling with the flow, see, you know, how can you share of yourself? Can you volunteer? If you are stingent with like actual finances, and maybe legit, you know, based on your situation right now, you can't really give much, or you have to be strict with people in your life on how they spend this money that you've created, that you've built. Then see how you can give of something else, because Pentacles are not just about money, right? You could be volunteering, you could be selling some of your stuff, you could be teaching someone, you know, about the wisdom, using the wisdom and the knowledge that you've acquired. Wherever you feel like you are an expert, or you actually know a lot, you know, you have a lot of life experience. You don't have to give yourself a label of an expert, it doesn't matter. But wherever you feel like other people could actually use this information, right, and avoid making the mistakes that you've made, or spending that much time on learning this as you did, right? How can you get it out into the world, right? See how you can be a little bit less protective and even defensive, and a little bit more of like, I feel safe in the world, right? That's also what the Aries energy is about, is connected to the base chakra. It is about safety, right? How can you cultivate that feeling of safety where you don't feel like if you're giving something to someone else, it automatically means that you're losing. right, next we go to Sagittarius. We have Saggy, Capi, Aquarius, and Pisces. 4 signs. Okay, Sagittarius. Your main energy is Queen of Wands, clarified by the Hierophant, which is Taurus energy, and Knight of Cups. Wow, this is beautiful. I mean, this is kind of your vibe, you know, the wands, the fire. You're a fire sign, and this is the time for you to embrace who you are as a leader and as someone who has a lot to offer, who has a big heart, who has seen a lot in this life, and who's not afraid to go after what he or she, you know, wants to go after. It's a beautiful energy. Yes, it is a little bit more feminine, but it's not about the gender. It's more about, you know, like that feminine wisdom, like a wise woman. Like, yes. I remember I used to know this girl from work who was once doing knowledge sharing for me on one of the projects, and we were both working in a project manager capacity. We're both girls. And she was telling me about this other colleague of ours who's a guy, and you know, he had a big ego and needed to be the main person in the room, basically. And she said, you need to play, you know, like a woman's part here. And she elaborated a little, like she meant like, you know, you need to be wise, where you don't necessarily insist that, you know, that you have the last word, or it's your way or the highway. It's like, be a little more lenient, and I'm trying to find a word, because sneaky isn't really it. Sneaky kind of expects negative connotation, and this is more about being smart in that way. I like, yeah, I'll let them have this, that's fine, because I'm gonna get to what I want anyway. Or the other technique could be when, you know, they say that you need to get the person to think that the idea was theirs in the first place, for them to agree to what you want to do. Right? It's something like along those lines. You get the idea, right? Like, you don't need to really like beat yourself in the chest and say, yes, I'm the best, I'm the smartest, the strongest, the richest, whatever it is, right? Like, it's a little bit more of a kind of like on the down low, but deep down, you know, it's like being a great cardinal, you know, where you are the person who's actually moving the chess pieces, but not everybody necessarily knows it, and it's fine, as long as you get to where you want to be. All right, next, let's see, I guess this will be the first card. So for Capricorn, we have 8 of Cups, clarified by 7 of Cups, and 7 of Swords in reverse. I like when 7 of Swords is in reverse. 2 7s, by the way. So yeah, it's like and it's interesting because it's actually a classic theme for the full moon story, where you're walking away from things that don't serve you, because they get illuminated in your face, and you even see this illumination here. Kind of looks a little bit more like the sun and the moon, but it doesn't matter. Then you get to choose, right? You get those options in front of you very clearly. Like, okay, all right, I see what's happening now, and right? And what do you want to do with it? That's the question right now. And like what we just recently saw for, I think, Cancer, maybe somebody else, there are choices, right, of what you want to create next. You can create a fairy tale of a life, and the world's your oyster, sky's the limit, whatever expression you like better. Or you can continue pretending like you're, you know, the circumstances aren't right, the timing is not right, this person is not the person, and whatever else is in the way, right? It's like, do you see the obstacles or the opportunities? That can-do attitude, that's something that you can really use right now to build that bridge to where you want to be. Aquarius. What does Aquarius need to know during this full moon in Aries? Alright. Alright. Something's jumping out. Ten of Swords. Clarified by Page of Cups. And Six of Wands. Wow, this is so interesting. I mean, yeah, obviously the Ten of Swords is not a great card to begin with. It's about a heartbreak, but it doesn't have to be about romantic relationship, by the way. Everything in our life is either love or fear, right? And love could apply to anyone and anything in your life. But what's important here is you actually, again, because you're getting that illuminated picture of what actually happened, how did your heart get broken in that particular scenario, and you'll know what I mean. You'll know it. Maybe you already know as you're listening to this. You'll understand what was the basis of why it was never meant to work out, or why that person or that activity or that situation was in your life only for a season, right? And now it's like it's important to show yourself some kindness in that, and maybe other people involved. Forgiveness, I'm hearing. Ho'oponopono is one of the prayers and meditations you can use for that, but there's so many more techniques, and of course inner work that you can do to forgive yourself, forgive others, right? And you can win from it. Like whatever happened was necessary, so you get to a point of victory, whether you've already reached it or you're going to. That was the way. It was important, it was necessary. And even if you don't have all the answers right now during this full moon, it's also fine. The main point is to move on, to be able to find closure to find release from that situation that broke your heart. And last but not least, Pisces. What does Pisces need to know during this full moon in Aries? Alright. The World. The reading for the last sign, and we get the last major arcana. This is Capricorn, actually. Capricorn energy. Then we have the Queen of Cups. I apologize to Pisces that it's hard to see now, but the story that I'm going to tell you is even more important. So you have Cups. Very interesting. So the cycle is closing. That's, by the way, another main theme of full moon energy in general, right? It's a closure. It's because once you get that illumination and you get that clarity, a lot of times that's exactly what we need to be able to find closure on a certain scenario, on a certain situation. And that's what is given to you, right? So that you can maybe even grieve a little over what was lost, what could have been, whatever it is, right? But let it go and be able to find that emotional intelligence to see how beautiful each and any experience is and was, even if it's lost. And I'm not saying necessarily that something, it has to be something malicious, right? Sometimes we are mourning like actual loss of a person, and maybe there wasn't a big backstory to it. Maybe that person moved halfway across the world for their new life and you're not in touch anymore. Maybe they passed away and there's no way for you now to tell them everything you want to say and ask what you wanted to ask, right? But you know what, I actually was just watching one of the episodes of the Reluctant Traveler show on Apple TV Plus with Eugene Levy, and this was the episode where he was in Mexico during celebration of the Day of the Dead, and which is, by the way, coming up in less than a month from now. And he was trying to get the point of why they're making this ritual and this concept of death a celebration, right? But this is like almost like that, that it's important. And essentially what they were saying to him is, yes, one part of it is we don't want to be afraid of death. It's just a natural next phase of life, right? Or of cycle, whatever. But also that we want to remember and to celebrate people that we were close with that have now passed away. We want to remember them and all the wonderful things that go with them, right? That's the treasure, that's the richness. That's how you keep them alive in your hearts, right? And sometimes it's that. For any relationship, and I'm just giving this because it's a more obvious choice, that was in your life but is no longer in it, right? Remember the beauty, the love, the excitement, the adventure, whatever drew you into it, however you enjoyed it. Remember that is still precious. Nobody's taking that away from this experience. You can still appreciate it, even if it ended in you losing that person, relationship, activity part of your life, even if some kind of heartbreak was involved. Okay, on that note, I'm gonna finish here. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. I hope this was useful. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and information on donations is available in the descriptions. Personal readings are available. Book me. There's actually a booking tool now on my website where you can book specific day and time with me. Or, of course, you can also message me, you can email me, and we'll figure it out. All right, until next time.